Many WNBA fans are calling out the referee problem.
The referees literally turned their back.
Caitlin Clark appears to be hunted every game. She deals with physicality that no other player in the league is dealing with. The WNBA not stepping in to protect their cash cow, their only draw, their only star, and this is the end result.
They promised she would change everything. The league, the culture, the entire future of women's basketball. Caitlin Clark was crowned a once-in-a-generation star, a blazing comet lighting up the WNBA sky. But what no one saw coming was this. The storm wasn't on the court. It was within the league itself. In just a few games, the shining hero was no longer untouchable. She became the hunted. And that court? It turned into a war zone.
It's shocking.
Caitlin Clark will be sidelined for at least 2 weeks
with a quad injury.
Bullets has emerged. How Caitlin Clark got hurt.
He fouls her for the 4th time. It's cheating.
Caitlin Clark is the driving force behind the interest in the Fever and the interest in the WNBA.
Rookie Caitlin Clark was subject to several intentional fouls.
But it wasn't just rival players who turned their backs. This wasn't a rookie's tough initiation. This felt calculated. Every hit, every icy glare, it wasn't growing pains. It was a chilling warning. So the question burned in every fan's mind. Who wanted to see her broken before she could soar?
After every single game, WNBA players, fans, coaches are all complaining about the referees, and they have shown that they're not going to change anything because the referees continue to be horrible.
Game after game, the hits kept landing. Caitlin was pushed, slammed, left sprawled on unforgiving hardwood. And the refs, they did nothing. Just silent observers, like extras refusing to change the script. What started as a few missed calls grew into something much darker. A deafening silence. Fouls screamed for punishment, but were met with indifference as Clark hit the floor, again and again. Think she deserves better? Drop a Protect CC in the comments, because someone must speak up.
Lions head coach Stephanie White, she was complaining about her team not getting a whistle, not being respected.
Then came the nightmare fans dreaded. Caitlin was benched. A quad injury sidelined her. Suddenly, the footage replayed in a painful loop. Every foul ignored. Every brutal body check unchecked. Every desperate glance at officials pleading for a whistle that never blew. It wasn't just heartbreaking. It was a grim prophecy.
She will be out for 2 weeks minimum following a quad strain.
Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham going to the officials and trying to, ask for an explanation of what had just occurred. That official completely stonewalled.
And that's when the questions exploded. Was this random, or was there a method? Just as outrage reached a fever pitch, bombshell reports dropped. What they uncovered was more than bad officiating. It hinted at something far more sinister. A broken system, perhaps beyond repair.
This is a WNBA problem, and as more and more eyeballs are watching this league, it becomes growingly an issue. The officiating feels you never have a true grasp on what it's going to be.
The truth? Many WNBA referees didn't come from elite professional ranks. They were plucked straight from high school gyms. But that's not the worst part. These officials aren't calling the shots themselves. Behind closed doors, a secret cabal of GMs, coaches, and league insiders pull the strings, controlling just how rough the game gets. And when the line keeps shifting, who pays the price?
Referees not listening to them. They're not listening to the coaches. They're not listening to the players. They're not listening to the fans. They're listening to their stakeholders. That's why I keep saying nothing is going to change till the mindset and whoever's running all of this, the stakeholders, governance, whoever these people are.
And Caitlin Clark? She's caught in the eye of this perfect storm, where power, pride, and profit collide. But now, the silence is cracking wide open. Viral clips are blowing up online. Fans are furious. And for the first time, coaches and players are breaking their silence. The WNBA feels the heat rising, and it's only getting fiercer.
If this injury does anything, it should be a wake-up call to the WNBA, the Players Association, the team owners, that just like that, all this fanfare, all this interest, all this newfound attention on the league can disappear overnight.
Lawsuit whispers are spreading fast. Rumors of biased refereeing are igniting a wildfire. Suddenly, the league's golden star, their prized asset, feels less like a treasure and more like a threat. The clock is ticking, so the million-dollar question remains. How far will the league go to silence the very player who built their empire?
Caitlin Clark is being roughed up, but the physical wear and tear on Caitlin Clark, I'm not surprised that 2 weeks into the season, she's already got an injury.
Caitlin Clark was never meant to fold. At Iowa, she shattered every record, packed arenas, and turned women's basketball into a sensation. So when she stepped into the WNBA, the expectations soared. People weren't just watching her play. They were waiting for the spark she promised to ignite in a league desperate for rebirth.
2024 was a year of unprecedented growth in viewership in the WNBA, a substantial amount of which can be attributed to Caitlin Clark, who took the basketball world by storm after an all-time college career.
Who had appeared in 185 consecutive games between her career at Iowa and her time with the Indiana Fever. 139 games with the Iowa Hawkeyes. She never missed one.
And for a brief, shining moment, it worked. Crowds poured in. TV ratings shot through the roof. The buzz was electric. But instead of a hero's embrace, the league met her with elbows, cold glares, and icy shoulders. From the start, Caitlin Clark wasn't welcomed. She was marked.
Caitlin Clark, somebody who was responsible for 26.5% of all WNBA economic activity last season, including revenue from merchandise, ticket sales, and television.
Caitlin Clark out at least 2 weeks waited, but can the WNBA maintain without her? Can the WNBA pack arenas, draw rating?
From her very first pro game, it stopped being just basketball. It turned deeply personal. Every matchup was a battlefield. Defenders weren't just slowing her down, they were aiming to break her. Full-court harassment, off-ball slaps, hits that felt more like rugby than hoops. And the refs? Quiet. Where others drew whistles, Clark drew bruises. Again and again, she had to grit her teeth and push through.
The referees just exposed their hand so bad, bro. I mean, they just didn't care no more. They didn't care. The world was watching how bad the cause was. They didn't care at all. They was going to get their issue off against the Fever no matter what. And I'm here to tell you, that's exactly what went down, bro. They have an agenda against Caitlin Clark.
Meanwhile, the league kept repeating the same worn-out line. She just needs to adjust. But why is Caitlin Clark the only star told to toughen up, while others are shielded like royalty? Then came the breaking point. After carrying her team night after night, logging monster minutes, sometimes 35+ per game, Clark was sidelined, a left quad strain, at least 2 weeks out. Now the league faces a reckoning.
Said the reason that people are complaining is because they haven't watched the WNBA before, and these are just new fans who don't understand. But there's clearly an issue.
This wasn't just a setback, it was a gut punch. To the Indiana Fever, to the entire WNBA, and to fans everywhere. For many, it wasn't some unlucky accident. It felt like the price of neglect, the inevitable fallout after a season full of unchecked violence, and a league that abandoned the one player keeping the spotlight alive.
Indiana Fever guard Caitlin Clark has suffered a left quadricep strain and will be out for a minimum of 2 weeks.
This wasn't a cruel twist of fate. It was a disaster that could and should have been stopped. What made it sting the most? The deafening silence that followed. No statement from the league about the brutal beatings Caitlin Clark endured. No apologies. No explanations. Just another name added to the injury report. But this wasn't just any name. It was the face of the WNBA's future, benched not by failure, but by a system that turned its back.
It's
the Caitlin Clark disrespect. And what I mean by that is you've got somebody who is obviously the most popular player in basketball. You got somebody that I would argue maybe a top 5 most popular athlete in the United States of America. All right. You got this athlete in a league that nobody's been watching, never turned a profit, and your system is broken against that team.
Even those closest to her saw the fractures. Kelsey Mitchell, her teammate, quietly urged Caitlin to listen to her body's warning signs, a subtle admission that Clark was pushing through pain most would never dare face. Fans noticed. Media spotlighted the struggle. Now the burning question remains. Why was the league's brightest star left so exposed? And who really benefits from her silence?
But Kelsey Mitchell said even if there is a injury, hopefully it's just, like a little nagging thing. And again,
take care of your body and just make sure you. I think recovery is everything. I think if you're in tune to your body, you know what you need. This is Caitlin.
A deep dive into WNBA officiating reveals a harsh reality. These referees aren't just inexperienced, they're dangerously underqualified. Many were plucked straight from high school gyms, skipping crucial steps like college ball or the NBA G League. These officials aren't battle-hardened. They're learning on the fly in the league's most high-pressure moments. And the cracks are visible, especially when it comes to managing the league's most controversial player, Caitlin Clark.
And they do not talk about it here. And that's why I also don't want us to personally attack some of these referees. I think they're doing their job. If they're hiring referees who basically didn't have any experience but high school refereeing jobs, and then they did a stint in the G League, like these referees actually aren't. I gained and reconfirmed with myself that not much is going to change.
But the rabbit hole goes deeper. These refs aren't blowing whistles based on their own judgment. Behind the scenes, a secret committee calls the shots. Made up of coaches, GMs, and league insiders, not impartial referees, but those with skin in the game. This isn't conspiracy theory. League sources have confirmed it. Officials get instructions on how physical games should be, which fouls to ignore, and what image the league wants, not what's fair.
There's a committee for stakeholders, coaches, governors, and general managers, and that is saying what style of basketball they want to allow, and the referees are following that law.
Caitlin Clark disrupts this carefully balanced order. She brings a lightning-fast pace, unprecedented media attention, and a spotlight that unsettles the old power brokers. Her explosive style clashes with the rough, grinded-out game the committee prefers. The fallout? She faces unfair punishment on the court, denied the protection every star deserves, all because she challenges the system.
It took us halfway through the season. This year, it took us 4 games for Stephanie White to say, I've had enough.
I thought she got fouled. I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us the last few games.
Hits that would instantly draw whistles in the NBA or college ball get ignored here. No calls. No justice, only deafening silence. And when Caitlin demands answers, she's met with cold indifference. This isn't paranoia. It's a deep-rooted bias written into the league's very fabric.
I see what's happening right here. That is a WNBA referee turning his back to Caitlin Clark and the Fever. Oh my God. I mean, he literally got his back turned, ignoring Caitlin. I mean, this is bad.
Over and over, Caitlin Clark takes brutal hits that go unnoticed, while her slightest touch draws immediate fouls. Coach Stephanie White tried to contest one such call in a crucial game, but an obscure rule blocked her because she lacked a full timeout. Only a reset was allowed. The officials remained protected. Clark did not. These tangled rules don't just affect results. They erode trust.
I thought she got fouled. I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us the last few games. And I might be able to understand it if we were just chucking threes. And the disrespect right now for our team has been pretty unbelievable. So it's disappointing.
This isn't about innocent errors. It's about a broken system where referees answer not to fairness or the game's spirit, but to hidden agendas. Caitlin Clark is targeted, not only by defenders but by a league desperate to control the narrative instead of shielding its brightest star.
The only draw in your league, the only player capable of selling tickets, is potentially out for an extended period of time. What the hell are you gonna do now?
The more leaks, the clearer it becomes. This officiating crisis is no accident. The league tries to downplay it, but the backlash is intensifying. Fans aren't alone in raising their voices. Coaches, players, and analysts nationwide are calling out the biased calls, with Clark trapped right in the eye of the storm. This isn't about favors. It's about demanding justice.
In that situation. And I understand the frustration that I think comes the most with officiating is the inconsistencies of officiating. But listen, this is not unique to the WNBA.
When refs keep missing blatant fouls on a star who commands record attention, people demand answers. One of the most controversial moments? The Fever versus Liberty game. With seconds left, Clark drove hard to the hoop and was clearly fouled by Natasha Cloud. Every replay proved it. Yet no whistle, no call. Game over.
Right, when that foul took place, CBS said she's got a challenge left. Well, it didn't matter. She couldn't use it. Stephanie White could not challenge that foul call on Lexi Hull, the one that led to the game-winning free throws from Sabrina Ionescu, because she didn't have a timeout. You need a full timeout, not a reset timeout, to initiate the challenge. Now, my issue with that is it would have been nice if the CBS announcers hadn't even brought up the challenge.
Clark and her teammates confronted the refs, demanding explanations, but were ignored. The officials just walked away. The message was loud and clear. The whistle isn't blown equally. And this wasn't an isolated case. Earlier, Coach Stephanie White challenged a foul on Lexi Hull, but was blocked by league rules because she didn't have a full timeout. Fans thought she was wrong. She wasn't. Her hands were tied by a system protecting officials from accountability.
There's clearly a problem if it's not just one team. Also, by the way, it's not just the Indiana Fever. I know it's been the biggest story this week. Brittany Griner left a sideline interview to go yell at the ref.
Players found themselves exposed, while officials hid behind rules and loopholes. Frustration spilled, far beyond Indiana's borders. Brittany Greer even interrupted a live halftime show to criticize officiating on national television. Some coaches called her out as disrespectful during post-game talks. These reactions weren't just emotional, they were intentional demands for fairness. Calls were inconsistent and disrupted the flow of the game. Still, the league dismisses concerns as mere adjustments from new viewers. But the real issue isn't physicality, it's the unpredictable and unequal enforcement of rules. When Clark hits the court, the standard changes. She faces harsher scrutiny and more aggressive challenges. And when she perseveres, the physical cost is ignored until her body breaks down.
I did notice in the Liberty game, Caitlin Clark's shots were all very short. So it was showing that she wasn't like getting off and she was having a difficult time making those threes, and a lot of explosiveness from those three-point shots does come from your...
Now sidelined due to a quad injury, Caitlin symbolizes a controversy the league can't ignore. Those raising their voices aren't just supporting her. They're calling out a culture that rewards silence and punishes talent. Clark never demanded special favors, only fair treatment, like any other player. Yet, the higher her performance climbs, the more resistance she encounters. Not just from opponents, but from the very system that should protect her. The backlash isn't easing, it's intensifying, because the league underestimated the force she represents.
Who had appeared in 185 consecutive games between her career at Iowa and her time with the Indiana Fever. 139 games with the Iowa Hawkeyes. She never missed one.
Obviously, Caitlin's carrying a lot on her shoulders. A big star that is coming to a lot of these buildings.
The fans aren't simply spectators anymore. They're watching with sharp focus. The WNBA had a rare chance to build around a star of a generation. Caitlin Clark didn't just arrive, she energized the league. Full arenas, record-breaking viewership, and new fans eager to engage. But instead of supporting her rise, the league faltered, clinging to outdated powers and ignoring a painful reality. Spectators saw her taken down without calls. They watched officials confer, then walk away. Scores shifted, not because the better team prevailed, but because the referees chose to overlook key moments. Now, fans aren't just upset, they're taking action. Lawsuits are looming. Journalists are digging deeper. What was once hushed is now front-page news. The foundation is cracking wide open.
But at the same time, the Fever were on the wrong end of some whistles, it seemed, in this game, and it's seemingly been that way for much of the season, and it's been a recurring theme where there's a level of physicality allowed against them, and they're not allowed to reciprocate on the other end. That particularly, of course, goes for Caitlin Clark.
For too long, the WNBA's accountability system operated in secrecy. Referees answer to committees, committees to owners, and no one to the fans. Clark's spotlight tore through that silence. She didn't seek controversy or leadership. But as whistles went unblown and rough play escalated, the league thrust her into the role of symbol for change. Every questionable call, every undeserved foul, every missed whistle fans witnessed sparked a fire that won't die out. This isn't about favoritism, it's about safeguarding the sport's integrity. What happens to Caitlin Clark sends a clear message to every aspiring player and fan. No matter how many records you shatter, no matter how brightly you shine, the system might punish you for standing out. That's not only unjust, it's unsustainable. If the league fails to fix its officiating and the hidden influences controlling the game, lawsuits will only mark the beginning. This battle isn't finished. Caitlin's supporters won't back down. The press won't stop reporting. The truth is exposed. Now the question remains, will the league respond before it's too late?